This week on the Austin Healey channel, it's all about trim and tires.
Before I move into wrapping all of this in the Armacord, I want to go down here to the floor and put in the insulation. I'm going to use this modern foam shiny wrapped insulation. It's a departure from originality, but I think it's well worth it. Yesterday I used a spray glue to glue this insulation in place, and this morning I came in, it's peeling off the sides, it's barely stuck to the ground. I don't know what happened at night, but it's not happy. So I'm gonna have to put it back in with the contact cement. I know it'll hold better. So let's talk about wire wheels. Now I'm probably going to get a lot of comments on this, but I decided to go with the original 48 spoke tires, wheels. Lots of people say, oh, the 48 spokes, they're not strong enough for modern tires, blah blah blah. But this is what was originally on the car, and I don't drive it like a race car. I haven't driven season 1 like a race car. I'm not intending to drive this one like a race car. It's going back together to be more original than a race car. Yeah, it has that pedigree of racing, but this one in Coronet Cream is Grand Dame, and should be respected and driven gracefully. So that's why I've gone to the original 48 spokes. So I bought all 5 of these. I looked at my original wheels. 2 out of 4 were the 48 spoke. One of those, half of the spokes were broken. So I looked at replacing just the spokes, and that was more expensive than buying just the whole new thing, or about the same. So I considered taking the spokes off this and put them on the other one, blah, blah, blah. But in the end I'm just gonna go this way. There's supposedly a difference in the centerpiece from the original to these. We'll have a look at that and see if we can tell anything, but I don't see anything. So for now, let's see if we can mount a tire. There's a bit of difference with these wheels and the original ones, and it came as a bit of a surprise to me. Let me show you. It has this on it. What is this stuff? Well, it's a seal on the spokes. So I don't know if you can read it, but it says somewhere, this wheel suitable for use with tubeless tires. So all those all the tubes I bought, I'll have to save for another project. For now, this is all sealed up and ready to go. This has been It's been painted, but with the electric paint, powder coating. So it's supposed to withstand the weather really, really well. To put the tire on, I found it best to do it upside down. So when you're pushing stuff in and using the tools, if you scrape anything up, it'll be on the back side and not the front side. The tire has a dot on it. The dot lines up with the valve. I have a spray bottle of soap and water. Lubrication really helps on this. I've done one already and it was not easy. Come on. The trick is to get this bead way down under there, so it's not trying to go actually where it is, but down in this deeper crevice, and that gives you some room to stretch it and get it in place. We're going to start with these guys. There we go. Now that's the easy side. Next step. Put that way down in there. Go at it with these. We're going to use this tool, taking out the valve stem. So with the valve stem out, we're going to add some air to it, and that's going to set the bead around the edge. When the air all comes out, we put the valve stem back in, tighten it up. Then, put some real air in it. If I remember right, it's 26 pounds, or 27 now. Yeah, it's close enough. And put the cap back on. That's it, you've now mounted a tire. The next step would be to balance it. We're not going to do that today. Maybe tomorrow. Anyone's interested, these are Dunlop Sport Classics. I went with 185/70 15s, though if I was going to do it again, I'd probably go with 165 or 175. Anyway, that's what I got. There's all sorts of options on this, all sorts of options, all sorts of theories. The original tires were sized in a different manner, so nobody remembers. There's not an exact factory recommendation for these. I guess technically you can still get bias ply for these, but they're really expensive.
So now that we've gotten all of our tires mounted, the next step is to get them balanced, and that's where this comes in handy. In the past, I've tried to take them to a shop to get them balanced, but most shops aren't equipped to handle this type of wheel. They're equipped for the modern wheels, and the mounting point, the point where it contacts the axle to level things out is different. So they would need a special piece of equipment on their balancer. So what we're going to do is called a static balance using this tool. It's kind of an old-fashioned way to do it, but this is an old-fashioned kind of car.
The concept's pretty simple. This is sitting on a pin there, and you put the wheel on here. It pushes the springs down so it rests on this cone, and then and then if it's heavy on one side, it'll tilt to the side or whatever it needs to do. Then there's a bubble level on the top that tells you which way you need to go to add the weights. Let's throw a tire on there and see how it goes. Put the tire on, and you want to make sure that it goes down all the way so it centers on that cone. This one is not bad at all. I bought this set of weights off eBay. Let's see if we need to do anything. It looks like we need to add a little bit of weight on this side. On this side. So it doesn't need much because the bubble's very, very close. And I did two because I'm going to put one on the outside and one on the inside. And this one was super, super close. Putting these weights on is simple enough. You can do it just with a hammer. They tap into place. Taking them off's a little more difficult. That's why I have this. It's a special pair of pliers that grabs the weight and pulls it off easier. It also has a little hammer so you can do everything in one go. We're going to take it off of here before we do that. It goes right there. And we're going to flip it over and put the other weight exactly on the opposite side. So let's compare an original tire, well, original in air quotes tire, with the one I put on it. This is well, originally the car had, from the factory, came with a 5.90 by 15 bias ply tire. This one is a 6.0 by 15. You can see the thickness here. Compared to this, it's a different shape. This is substantially wider than this. This one is about 17 centimeters wide, whereas this one, the contact on the ground is going to be about 15. Excuse me. The contact here is about 11, maybe. So you got a lot more contact with the ground. Obviously, this doesn't have any tread left on it. Plus, it's just ancient. At the Healey Museum, I was told that this center is different on the the new ones than the original ones. So let's take a measurement. It's 23 millimeters. And this 23 millimeters. Let's measure from the outside of the tire through the center to the outside. Here it's about 63. From here to here, also about 63. So that's not very different at all. So that's about all the differences I can find between the old one and the new one. I'm pretty happy with the new ones. I think they look fabulous and will last a nice long time. Since we're gonna do new wheels and do new spinners too, that's a bit of an upgrade. If you're following along, I should have put in this carpeted piece before I started on the back, but yeah, I pulled it up around the arch, slid it back in. It was no problem. On this side, there's a cutaway that has a vinyl patch to it, and the emergency brake gets bolted in here. Here's a quick tip. If you're working in a cold garage, a heat gun will really help with the Armacord. It softens it up so it forms better to the surface you're working on. You can also use it to dry the contact cement quicker so your work process goes along faster. So apparently this is a problem with the modern wider tires. They don't fit in the spare tire place. So I've been on the internet and there's several different solutions to getting the tire in the right place. And it seems using 2 out of 3 has solved the problem. The first solution is to buy smaller tires. I know that's pretty obvious. They're suggesting 165. I think it was 160. I don't remember what it was. I know the profile is 165, and that should fit on some. Apparently, the early BN1s, the tire, the the hole the tire slides through is even smaller than on the later models in the BN2s and such. The second method is to let the air out, and then it's not as fat and it slides in better. The third method, and with the second method you need to carry a pump or something in case you actually need to use the spare tire. The third method is to put a plastic bag around the tire, and that reduces the friction and it slides in better. With tires, they're made to have a lot of friction. That keeps them on the road. So whether it's mounting the tires on the metal rims or sliding it into the space, reducing friction seems to help in many ways. So I've let the air out of the tire, and I've used a plastic bag, and I've managed to get the tire in pretty far. I think it's quite near the original depth, so that's all very good. And then you can take the plastic bag and you can bunch it up against there, or even cut it off smaller so it doesn't show from the back. It's just there to help it slide in place. So I've made some mistakes building this BN1, and the tires are one of them. Most of the mistakes have been small, and I've just gone around. And I want to share those with you so you don't run into the same mistakes. If you can learn from my mistakes, that puts you a step ahead. I have a life philosophy that mistakes that you learn from are good. It helps you grow, it helps you learn. Sometimes it's an expensive way to learn, but it's a learning process nonetheless. So I think next time I would go with a smaller size tire and avoid some of these problems, but it is what it is. Nothing's damaged, nothing's broken. The tires will have to be replaced, in 7 years or whenever they expire. The rubber gets hard after a while. So when they do, I would go down to a smaller size. But in the meantime, with the tricks I found on the forums on the internet, it's in the right place, and it seems to work. And I'll get a pump for it and leave it in the car. These have these extra little flaps on them, which doesn't seem to make sense to me. I looked up a couple other. I got these from AH Spares. I looked up a carpet kit for BN1 at Moss Motors. They didn't have it. Basically, this should just fold over and then and get glued in here. It gets held in place with the scuttle plate. So I'm not sure what these are actually supposed to do. So I'm gonna remove them. Two leather straps that are held down with lift-a-dot fasteners. So these little studs go in on either side. There's already a factory hole in the back. So to make sure I get the right one, because there's extra holes back here. This is the same as the other side. Here are the straps. They come unassembled. You have to put your own lifted dot on it. So I find a nice spot for that. A little bit up from the bottom, and then centered. I'm just going to tap it a little bit. And that will mark the 4 points where these ears go through. that in place, I'm going to need to cut a little hole in it. To cut a hole, I bought one of these. It's an 8mm 5/16. Should be big enough of a hole. Need to find out exactly where this is. Put this on it. Make our mark. Then whack it. Now the lip dot's slightly oval, so we're going to come down just a little bit and grab a little extra. The legs aren't quite going through, so I'm going to use the razor blade to help it out a bit. Next, this goes over it, and it gets hammered down. There we go, one lifted dot. Let's go see how it fits. Now this just goes on there. The rest of the belt tucks up under here and will get riveted in place. And then that will hold this down nice and tight.
Well, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Next week I'm not in the shop. I have another project I'm working on. But then I'll come back and make another video just for you. If you want to come along on the ride as we complete this project, click the subscribe button. If you want YouTube to tell you every time there's a new video, click the alarm bell. Thanks for watching, and your support is very much appreciated.